Boker Tov, everyone. I'm here. Sorry about the tardiness. My clock was off, evidently. I just happened to look and notice that I was well behind. My apologies for that, for being tardy this morning. Well, good morning. We're talking about the rainbow today. Glad you're with me. Everybody probably knows, well, not probably know, you do know about the misuse of the rainbow. We've talked about that at length in other forums and how frustrating it is that in our day and age, the sign of the rainbow has been perverted and used, obviously, for perverse means, obviously ungodly means, etc. And it's sad because the rainbow is obviously a godly emblem. It does have there's some insights about the rainbow that may be a little surprising, because in as much as it's often used in more of a child's forum, there is some question as to whether or not seeing a rainbow is a good thing or not, meaning that it's a sign of, it could be considered a sign of judgment and so forth. But generally speaking, the rainbow has, I mean, for years and years been used usually as a child symbol. You have I'm always teasing about with Hadassah, anyway, our daughter, teasing her when she was a young teenager, 16, 17, and so forth. And typically, young ladies at that age are moving away from, or have moved away from, their childhood dolls and so on and so forth. So I used to tease her about getting her a unicorn backpack or unicorn lunch pail, or I teased her when we were taking her to college that I was going to get her a some type of unicorn bag or something like that, just being silly and funny. But you see that with kids, right? You see the unicorn oftentimes associated with the rainbow and so forth. And so we this I don't want to say childish, that's probably the wrong word, but this innocent emblem is now used for grotesque perversion, and it's really sad. It's really horrible. But in any case, we'll be talking about the rainbow today and looking at some insights related to that. Listen, today's a busy day for the channel. We have the Aliyah now, obviously, and then we're going to have Musar today, Bezrat Hashem, and then Bezrat Hashem later tonight at 7:30. We have Zake and Yagal is going to have his book club. So there's a lot going on the channel. And then I also want to tell you about something else. So last night, we have, by the way, we have guests coming in. We have HCOs coming in from across the fruited plain this weekend. I'm very super duper excited about that. We have a busy fall. We have people coming in this weekend. A week or two from now, we have more people coming in. A week after that, we have a beautiful couple coming in from the Deutschland, from Germany. And then we have then we talked to a wonderful HCO precious soul yesterday, who's coming in December during the Hanukkah season. And so it's just amazing. It's just amazing. We are super, super duper whooper excited about all of that. The only thing that can make it better is if you moved here. That's right. I said you. We need you. We need you. We need one of those signs with me wearing the Uncle Sam hat, that pointing, we need you. Anyway, I digress. So last night we were driving home after a late night, doing some work around the shul and the mikveh house and what have you. And I was listening to a local radio program, local news talk radio station, and I listen to, periodically. Anyway, this gentleman, just so happened that this gentleman was talking about that tonight at 8:30, he's going to have a yes, Batshua, we need you. That's right. That's right. Well, good morning, Mutta. Oh yes, and Thanksgiving with mom. That's right. And Hadassah's coming in town for Thanksgiving. So that's right, Mutta. We're coming to your house for Thanksgiving. My brother will be there. Hadassah will be there. So yes, it's going to be a very busy fall. So anyway, this gentleman was talking about a tonight at 8:30. There's a professor coming on who is he went through his credentials, kind of shared his bio. Highly acclaimed, highly awarded. Uh, uh, this gentleman in Jewish studies, Holocaust studies, anti-Semitic studies. He's got awards from every Jewish academic thing seemingly you could imagine. His awards list was crazy. But anyway, he's going to be there tonight on with this host, talking about the history of Israel and how there never has been a Palestinian state. There's not been a Palestinian people, and how Israel absolutely owns the land, has the right to the land, etc. And this guy has all, as I said, all kinds of awards. So I kind of got excited. It's like, wow, that sounds really cool. So that's at 8:30. So we've got this today, right now, happening now, and we have at noon, we're going to have Musar. At 7:30, Zake and Yagal. And as soon as Zake and Yagal finishes, we have this program on this local radio station. So this local radio station, which is actually a very popular and very prominent station here on the AM world and in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It's WBAP 820. So they have a website, and you can listen on over the internet, right? So you don't have to, obviously you don't have to be here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So I'm going to share that link on the WhatsApp chat group for all of you. So we'll put that out there. And I think I hope it sounds like it's going to be a great historical study from a professor, a doctor of anyway, who is the absolute expert. It sounds like to me. So anyway, so it's going to be exciting. And then of course tomorrow is prep day, and it's going to be wonderful. So by the way, the world is crazy. In case you're wondering, you're out there and you're asking yourself, do I live in a crazy world? The answer, of course, is yes. So as we've been saying for the last couple of weeks, everybody be mindful of your surroundings. The world hates Jews. Okay. If you're out there and you're thinking about becoming Jewish, going through conversion, just understand that anti-Semitism comes with the program. You're welcome. But in all seriousness, it's just a reality, and it's kind of a it's something you kind of get used to, but people hate us because we're us. So there's that, and it doesn't matter, by the way. You could be the nicest person in the world, but they're still going to hate you. The world is crazy. The good thing is we do have allies out there. Not everybody hates us. But anyway, just be careful and about your surroundings. Be mindful. We are continuously being mindful of our surroundings and security at the synagogue and so on and so forth and so on. And we just want you to be aware of that. All right, so getting right to our insights. So today, the part of the fifth Aliyah is the discussion of the rainbow. And so it comes from Genesis chapter 9, and beginning in verse 12, the flood is over. Noah and his family have left the ark, which is the word teva, which means word. And now God is telling them about this sign in the heavens, which, one wonders, what had the rainbow ever appeared before? If it had, maybe it did, and Hashem didn't assign a significance to it. If it didn't, oh wait, I'm sorry, I just read the chat. There's a conversion mikveh this evening. It is this evening. I'm sorry. I'm getting my schedule mixed up. All right. I'm sorry. All right. Let me change the schedule. I'm sorry. I'm getting my schedules all mixed up. I told you we got too much going on here. We have a conversion mikveh this evening, so there will not be a book club. So sorry about that. Okay. So I mentioned all that, but I'll still put out the link for the 8:30. See, this is why you know things get confused a little bit, but anyway, we're back. we're back on schedule. There's a lot that goes on. And so, all right. So never mind. Just kidding. I was just kidding. We're not going to have the book club tonight. That's going to be preempted by something more importante. All right. So there we go. Baruch Hashem. So back to our lesson here. It says, and so in verse 12, it says, and God said, this is the sign of the covenant that I give between me and you and every living being that is with you to generations forever. I have set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. And it shall happen when I place a cloud over the earth, and the bow will be seen in the cloud. I will remember my covenant between me and you, every living being among all flesh, and the water shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. And the bow shall be in the cloud, and I will look upon it to remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living being among all flesh that is on the earth. And God said to Noah, this is the sign of the covenant that I have established between me and all flesh that is upon the earth. Okay. So let's look at the insights here and what it says about the rainbow. Now, I just happened to glance over here and see this. I wanted to mention this as well. We talked yesterday about that once again, as Noah comes out of the ark, Hashem pretty much reiterates the same commandments that he gave to mankind initially, right? And that, of course, included at its forefront included food laws. And Judaism has taught, the ancient rabbis have taught for centuries that what we eat really sets us up for our ability to be able to receive, embrace, understand holiness. It's really a kosher eating is considered a prerequisite for holy living and holy understanding. So with that in mind, I wanted to read this. Now, somebody asked a question. I think it was a Hava that actually asked a question. I didn't get a chance to answer it online, but it was talking about, since we were originally not allowed to eat meat, we were vegetarian, evidently. Now that we are allowed to eat meat, does that constitute God changing his law? So we say that God doesn't change, but evidently it did. It did, right? And it's interesting because the answer, of course, is no, because God doesn't change. He's incapable of changing, and that's really important, right? So that mere fact changes or dispels the false gospel out of Rome, because that gospel, the thrust of that gospel is that God changed the covenant, and we no longer have the laws of Moses. We have some other kind of law, which is basically nebulous and not at all able to be defined definitively in any appreciable way. But yet it's a law and we must follow it, even though I can't tell you what the laws are, but that doesn't matter. Do it anyway. Stop asking. Be obedient to what I say. But in any case, so God, changed basically. He used to think that we should do this, and now he woke up one morning and said, I don't even know what I was thinking. I sent 48 prophets to tell them to follow my law. 49, in fact, if you count John. I sent 49 prophets to tell them to follow my law. And then I woke up one day and said, why did I do that? That was so silly. So I sent the Messiah to tell them to make sure and not follow the law. So, I got mad at you for killing the prophets who told you to follow the law, only so I could send my only begotten son to tell you, good job, guys. Good job in killing them, because in a matter of fact, their message was wrong. It's right. When you put it that way, it seems kind of, I don't know what's the word, stupid. Of course it is, because it is. All right. So look, Going back, going back to this. So the question now becomes: did God change by telling us we can only eat vegetables? And the answer is dun dun dun. We weren't vegetarian. What? Adam wasn't vegetarian. This is why ancient Jewish literature is important. He ate meat; it was just provided to him by the angels. Did you know that? Yeah, what we weren't allowed to do was to kill animals. People before the flood weren't vegetarian either. They just killed animals and ate them without permission. So basically, what we have here is a permission. Now we are allowed to actually sacrifice, or excuse me, not really, well, sacrifice, yeah, but to kosher slaughter the animals ourselves. But we weren't exactly vegetarian. And I brought this out before. Somebody asked me for the insight a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and I shared it. I believe, I'm not mistaken, comes from insight from the Legends of the Jews, which references some Midrashim, but no, we weren't vegetarian. That's why we have teeth, by the way. If you look at our teeth, they are designed for eating meat. Yes. We have fangs, right? So anyway, so I'm not a dentist, but I am married to a woman who used to be in dentistry, which qualifies me to talk about things dental. You're welcome. So here it says, here's the insight. Here's a typical example of the Torah's methodology where it talks about, but flesh with its soul you shall not eat. The Torah's method of instruction. Judaism does not, pardon me, Judaism does not require an austere life, nor does it demand a vegetarian diet. Now, if you want to be vegetarian, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But we're not required to be vegetarian. And being vegetarian does not, and this is important, make you more holy. Okay. Now, again, I talk to a very broad audience. I talk to people from all across the world. Okay. And there's hundreds of different situations. But I mentioned yesterday the cult, the religious cult of environmentalism. It's a religion. Okay. And their God is the earth. There is also a cult that is oftentimes related to that, if not joined at the hip with it, and that is this whole vegan thing. Now, I have no problem with those who eat vegan. Please don't misunderstand. Okay, if you're a vegan and that's where you are, hey, that's cool. You know, do what you want to do. If you're a vegetarian, that's fine. And my favorite of all, the pescatarians. You know, it's kind of like you vegan, right? There's like vegan, and then you have vegetarian. But pescatarian is like saying that you're part of the Praetorian Guard of Rome. It's like, to me, it sounds more elevated, like more like exalted. Like, are you a vegan? No. A vegetarian? No. I am a pescatarian. Thank you. But I love that term. But in any case, if you want to be a vegan, that's fine. Vegetarian, fine. Pescatarian, even better. But seriously, it's not a problem. It's only a problem if you make it a religion. And I think you might agree with me that has happened in our day and age. People have turned this into basically a religion. And we have to be careful not to do that. You know, there's lots of different reasons why people are vegan and or vegetarian. Some of it is living a kosher life. It's just easier to do that, and that's fine. Some people do it because they love animals and they can't imagine an animal dying, and that's fine too. That's okay too. I like animals too. I'm a sappy sucker for little animals like bunny rabbits and squirrels and stuff like that. You know, I'm a sap. I get it. Okay. I also eat meat, but that's neither here nor there. But what's important is that we don't begin to worship the earth or worship animals. And hence, you know, being a vegetarian, if you want to be a vegetarian or a vegan or a pescatarian, that's fine, as long as you don't think that somehow doing that, you're holier or better or more spiritual, or somehow, and this is a big one, following the true text of the Bible as opposed to somebody who eats chicken and beef. Are we agreed? Can we agree on that? Great. So it says here, what it does So it says here, we're not required to live an austere life. It does not demand vegetarianism. Judaism, talking about. Judaism does not require for us to be monks, thank God. What it does want is to sanctify human life in all its manifestations. Together with complete moral freedom for the individual, the Torah wanted to give him the means of making the best of it, experiencing life and joys without losing one's soul or compromising one's greatness among the creatures of creation. Hence, around what is permitted, Judaism placed certain precepts which serve to control man's instincts. They prevent him from becoming a slave to his sensual appetites and descending to a bestial level. These precepts help him maintain his dignity as a human being. So you see, eating kosher helps us maintain our dignity as human beings. I say eating kosher, but of course this applies to everything in the laws of Moses. But let me just finish this last sentence. It says, the constant self-discipline and self-denial which they demand puts the stamp of holiness on our sensual pleasures. And that's true. You think about eating kosher meat. Eating kosher meat is an absolute must if you're going to eat kosher, right? But it does provide, especially for some, an inconvenience, if you will, in that you just can't go down to the local Walmart or the local grocery store and just buy beef or chicken because it's not kosher slaughtered. It's not certified kosher. That's a bummer. You have to go to a location that sells certified kosher meat, and oftentimes that requires going out of one's way. Or if you live in an area where there isn't anything, that's why you should move here. Hashtag come home to Texas. If you live in an environment where you don't have such a place, you have to order it online. Or worse, just do without. And so that's a challenge, but that's a negative side. What's the positive side of that? The positive side of that is it teaches us restraint. And so therefore we don't overindulge. And in this case, overindulge in meat, which frankly means that an animal had to die to satisfy our craving. Now, I'm a carnivore, okay? I'm a pescatarian carnivorous is actually my actual Latin name. Pescatarian carnivorous is what I am. So I don't have any problem with that, but I do like the idea that I'm not just over gratifying, self-indulging, just so a bunch of animals have to die so I can just fulfill my craving. I don't need meat every single day or frankly every week. And even in Israel, this is the case. So Israelis don't necessarily eat meat every day. And so anyway, it teaches us restraint. And that's really the point of really all the Torah laws. It teaches us restraint. It teaches us to fight against that evil urge, which sometimes can be strong, of course. So it says, and God said to Noah and his son. So going back to the rainbow here, okay? The rainbow mentioned in the next verse is the sign of the covenant. This is the token that I give you so that you should not fear that every storm will become a flood. It's interesting here because I hear plenty of Christians talk about how they're frustrated that the LGBTQ CR371 Delta has taken the sign of the rainbow and used it for their perverse means. It's a sign of the covenant. They shouldn't do that. But my question to them is, and I don't disagree with them, I'm on board with them in that respect. But my question to them is, what about other signs of the covenant? You're upset about them taking the rainbow, but what about Shabbat? What about circumcision? What about tefillin? These are all signs of the covenant. Why do we pick and choose what signs of the covenant we're mad that don't exist anymore for us, but we don't care about other ones? You ever ask that question? The rainbow is a sign of the covenant. The enemy is using it for sick and disgusting, frankly, pedophilia. And we're mad about that. That's fine. I agree with you. I'm on board with you. I link arms with you in that fight. My question to you is, what about other signs of the covenant? What about Shabbat? Are you upset that the enemy has stolen that, turned it into a day for football and turned it into a day for shopping and a day for anything other than keeping God's laws? What about circumcision? Are you upset that people literally, there's a campaign to not circumcise your boys because you're, quote, mutilating their bodies? How idiotic is that? Are you mad that nobody who believes in the Messiah raps to feeling like he did? That's a sign of the covenant. These are all signs of the covenant. That's my point. We have to be consistent in our outrage. It says Noah did not demand any token, but God in his righteousness wanted to give them a visible sign of the permanence of his unilateral assurance to them. This he can accomplish by the manifestation of his bow in the sky. This is by Barbanel. Okay. Hirsch comments that the rainbow is one of many otot. This is going back to what I was just saying. Otot are signs. The rainbow is an otot, as well as the Sabbath, circumcision, and tefillin. I just mentioned all those, of which are designed to keep alive and fresh the great teachings which God gave man. The rainbow is the eternal sign that no matter how bleak the future looks, God is not oblivious, but he will lead mankind to its ultimate goal. Admittedly, right now, the future doesn't look all that bright. The world is crazy. People are crazy. Just when you think, oh, nobody would believe any of that propaganda against Jews, that's exactly what's going on right now. Then in the news all week, Hamas, which by the way, anybody in the Islamic terrorism world, whether it's Hamas, Hezbollah, Muslim Brotherhood, it doesn't matter. Okay. When they open their mouth, they're lying. Okay. And Hamas comes out and says that the IDF bombed a hospital in Gaza. And what happens? Does anybody take a breath and go, these are the same people who brutally raped little girls and burned little boys to death and brutally, barbarically, inhumanely murdered 1,200 Israelis, innocent men and women and children. I wonder if they might be telling a lie right now. Oh, I don't know. They always lie, but no, wait, we hate Jews. And so everybody started saying, look, the IDF bombed a hospital and 500 people. Of course, where do we get the number 500? From Hamas, of course. They're always telling the truth. 500 people died. And the world was outraged. Only to find out, and now everybody agrees, the American intelligence agencies, the British intelligence agencies, the IDF, Israelis, everybody knows now, it's been proven beyond any reasonable doubt, that it was Hamas who accidentally bombed their own hospital. But wait, there's more. The rocket that bombed the hospital actually hit a parking lot. And if anybody was killed, it certainly wasn't 500, unless there was a rave going on in the parking lot that evening, which I highly doubt. But it's amazing to me how the whole world believed this, and some people still believe it. Why? Because, the world is crazy. But here we're looking at this insight saying that even though the world is crazy and life looks bleak, the rainbow stands for us as a promise that Hashem will never forget his covenant. Now, by the way, before I move on to the next paragraph here, why do people believe this stuff about Jews? It's spiritual. No one hates anybody like that people hate Jews. Do people suffer from racism and prejudice? Of course, yes. You better believe it. My family, historically, my mother, who's online right now, We are from a very, 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 very French family, originally from southern Louisiana. And the French were even oppressed. If you're Irish, raise your hand out there if you're Irish. Anybody Irish in the crowd? Yes, lots of hands raised out there. The Irish were one of the most hated of all people back, especially back in the 17 and 1800s. So people, and of course, we don't have to say anything about the African American or Black culture. Clearly, there's racism there, but there's racism against all cultures, right? Everybody's experienced racism to one degree or another. But no, but the universal hatred is us Jews. And why? Because it's spiritual. Okay. So anyway, the next paragraph says, and between every living being that is with you. This is the other part of the promise. It says, not that the animals will see the sign, although Abigail always sees a rainbow and she's always hoping for a unicorn. Not that the animals will see the sign and be reassured. They do not have the intelligence, Abigail does, to experience such emotion. Rather, it is a sign that I will fulfill my covenant among myself, you, and the animal world. Now it says, Le Dorot Olam, to the generations forever. The sign will be a perpetual sign for all generations. So anyway, you can see, by the way, as I'm going through these insights, you can see why the Satan would want to usurp this sign for such a perverted use. Because why? Because it's a sign of the covenant. You know, he's done a great job getting rid of the Sabbath. He's done a great job at getting rid of bris milah, getting rid of circumcision. A lot of people who follow the gospel of Rome don't circumcise their boys naturally. And he's done a great job, of course, of getting rid of tefillin. Most people who believe the Messiah have no idea what that even is. And now in our day and age, he has taken the last sign and completely perverted it. And you can see it's all what do all these signs have in common? It's Shabbat, bris milah, tefillin, rainbow. What do these all have in common? They're all signs of what? The covenant. Say the covenant. The covenant. Notice that the word covenant doesn't have an S. And the word the is a indicator that there is a specific covenant. All right. There's not multiple covenants. There's only one covenant. There's only one. Why? It's called the Ark of the, say it with me, covenant. Okay. So the Satan knows this. There's only one covenant. And he wants to make sure that he usurps the signs of that one and only one covenant. There's not another. Okay. There's no covenant to the Gentiles. There's no covenant, blah, blah. There's the covenant. Okay. So it says, Rashi notes that Dorot is spelled defectively without two vowels. This is the word generations, forever, right? Generations. Indicating that the sign which provides necessary reassurance for moral defective, undeserving generation is not required in perfectly righteous generations. For example, the rainbow were not seen during the periods of Hezekiah, king of the Judah, and of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai. This is why it was said that seeing the rainbow could potentially be a bad sign. What it means when we see a rainbow is that we're not living in a perfect generation. We're not living in a righteous generation. This is what I was talking about at the beginning of the program. Verse 13 says, I have set, literally given, my bow in the cloud. Ibn Ezra interprets natati in the present tense, I have now set. He disagrees with Rabbi Sidai, who suggests that the rainbow always existed. Ibn Ezra explains that the rainbow is caused by the rays of the sun against the clouds after the flood. God caused atmospheric changes so that a bow would be produced. Prior thereunto, the bow had never been seen. Okay, so there we have a debate. One person said, I think it's existed before, and other rabbis said, no, it was a change in the climate, and it never, beforehand, there had not ever been a bow. Okay, so it says here, thus the use of the first person, kashti, my bow, in the past tense, natati, I have said, indicate that the bow may have been in existence previously. Okay, so that's one conclusion of this, is that there's others who came along and said, no, it actually existed beforehand, but now it has been designated for a specific purpose. So it says, the verse is therefore to be interpreted, the bow which I have set in the clouds since the beginning of creation as a natural phenomenon resulting from the sun's rays refracting upon the moisture-laden air, similar to the rainbow visible in a container of water standing in the sun, shall henceforth serve as a sign of the covenant between me and you. So according to Ramban, the bow had existed, but without any known purpose or known meaning associated with it. And now God is giving that meaning to it. Okay. Hirsch comments that there is no need to assume that the rainbow was a newly created phenomenon simply because God says natati, I have placed, that is in the past tense. Just as God showed Abraham the starry sky and told him that the already existing stars would symbolize the abundance of his children, God now designated the rainbow as an eternal symbol of the covenant never again to destroy humanity by a flood. So let's see, and finally we'll wrap it up here. It says, and it shall be a sign of the covenant henceforth and forever. The rainbow was chosen as a sign because it is symbolic of the glory of God as described in Ezekiel 1:28. In fact, in the Midrash Rabbi, it says, I've set the word kashti, et kashti natati. It says the word kashti may be interpreted to mean my likeness, kishuti, that is an object that is similar to me. So in the Midrash Rabbi, it's saying here that the rainbow is a likeness, as it were, of God, and it's saying here that likeness is related to the Shekinah of God, the glory of God. As it says, God thus implied, when it shall rain abundantly, I will present you with a symbol of my glory, so you shall receive the Shekinah and make teshuvah and repent. For were it my intention to destroy you, I would not have manifested to you my glory, because a king does not deign to appear to his disgraced enemies. So Ramban explains that any visible object, a heap of stone, a pillar, or 7 hued lambs, which serve to remind people of an agreement, is called a sign, and every agreement is called a covenant. Furthermore, that the bow is inverted is symbolic that they are not shooting at the earth from the heavens, for it is a custom of a warrior to invert the weapons they hold in their hand when calling for peace from their opponents. We do that today. We turn our rifles upside down, for instance, when we're having a white flag peace talk. So according to one final paragraph here, according to Bereshit Zuta, the rainbow was chosen as a sign of the covenant because it composed of fire and water in harmonious fusion. And this is a symbolic of God and his glory. The rainbow symbolized a bond between earth and heaven because it appears as an arc connecting the earth to the heaven. So what we see here, again, talking about how and why the enemy wants to pervert the rainbow, is that the rainbow is symbolic of God's connection to mankind. And it's symbolic of God's desire for mankind to make teshuvah. So now we can see why the Satan would want to take that sign, not only as a sign of the covenant, but it's a sign of teshuvah, a call to teshuvah specifically. Whenever we see a rainbow, by the way, that's what it should remind us to repent. And it should remind us that God is reaching down to us, that he doesn't hate us. His bow is pointed towards the sky, meaning that he's not wanting to bring judgment. He wants us actually to connect with him. That's why the Satan wants to pervert that sign, because the last thing he wants you to do is connect with the covenant. End of our Aliyah today. All right, so let me go back over the schedule, which I completely messed up. So at noon today, we're going to have the Musar. And then there will not be a book study tonight because we have a conversion mikvah to do. Yay! Which I knew about. I was just kidding earlier. And then I want to send out that link for the 8:30 program, so maybe y'all can catch that this evening if you'd like. And then, of course, we'll be back in the morning for the Aliyah day, and we'll start our countdown to the Holy Shabbat, as it were, right? So it's going to be exciting. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you so much. Look forward to being with you tomorrow. We'll see everybody at noon with the Musar program. Shalom Aleichem.